Hi, I'm Daniel Andrews, owner and creator of AndrewsFootball.com. I'm dedicating this next video to Big Chunk. He was my dog who I had to put down yesterday. And the thing with Big Chunk is when I first got him, he had heartworm. And for those of you that aren't familiar with heartworm, basically you cure that almost the same way you cure cancer. You basically inject poison into the bloodstream. It's a painful process. It doesn't, he doesn't recover immediately from. Basically, he was on restriction for a few weeks, almost a month after the last shot. After that, he was limping, which eventually lost him to right leg amputated. But for the last couple of weeks, he was basically paralyzed, almost below that front paw all the way down. The thing is, though, is that he was always happy, he was always upbeat, he loved the life, and he really loved other people. He loved being around other people. Now, I'm a half-empty type of person. Oftentimes, regarding people, I focus on one thing that somebody did wrong to me instead of the other 10 things they did right. So having a Big Chunk in my life was a really good influence because he never got down. He had a really rough life, but he never really got down. So I'm attempting to Photoshop Big Chunk and a picture of me and Big Chunk working on AndrewsFootball.com. So instead of me, you're looking at the greatest three-legged rat terrier ever. Today I'm going to talk about the NFL trade deadline and all the trades that happened today. I'm not going to discuss previous trades that happened during the week. I just want to talk about the trades that happened today. First of all, Jimmy Garoppolo traded from San Francisco to New England for a second-round pick. And this is a classic Belichick move, picking on the inexperienced John Lynch. The reason why is that draft picks 33 through 39, these picks are like gold. Now, Ryan Ramczyk, let me break this down. Ryan Ramczyk was the last player chosen in the first round, pick number 32. He signed a 4-year, $8,891,554 million deal. Now, Kevin King, who was pick number 33, the first player chosen in the second round, he signed a 4-year, $7,080,000, not $800,000, $80,884 million deal. That's almost 25% less. And I'm going to break this down a lot more after the season and after the combine because I love the NFL draft. We're going to talk a lot about NFL draft picks, but basically, as of right now, you have between 4 to 6 quarterbacks in round one. And New England's obviously not going to draft a quarterback with this pick, so they're going to get a first-round caliber player for this pick. Here's another thing is that you got San Francisco. They picked C.J. Beathard in the 3rd round this year. Most draft experts had him rated as a 5th-round pick or less, but coming out. But San Francisco saw something in him that they chose him in the 3rd round. But instead of grooming him to be a backup, is he going to start? Is Garoppolo to back up, or is Garoppolo going to start and he's going to be the backup? It's an old NFL expression. If you have 2 quarterbacks who can start, you really have none. Now, I would have given Beathard a chance to start for the rest of the season, and then if he wasn't answered, you go ahead and use that draft pick on a quarterback this year, and then use that high 2nd-round pick for a receiver, lineman, a running back, someone who can help the young quarterback out. San Francisco also traded Rashad Robinson for an undisclosed 2018 draft pick. Robinson had 7 starts in 8 games. He was a 4th-round pick in 2016. Now, when they say undisclosed, it's usually a low draft pick, like a 6th or a 7th-round draft pick. Now, Robinson played with LSU at Jamal Adams, so they may have some chemistry together instantly. And this could be an absolute steal for the Jets because I don't really like the Jets corners, but I love those 2 rookie safeties. Now, Lynch, what he's trying to do is he's trying to build a defense in San Francisco that was similar to what he was a part of in Tampa Bay, that Super Bowl winning defense, one of the greatest defenses of all time. And Robinson really doesn't fit that scheme, that Tampa 2 hybrid that they're running right now in San Francisco. So that's his logic. But getting rid of a fourth round pick for an undisclosed pick, that's usually really low. So as far as these two trades, I think New England and the Jets win both of these trades. And with the upside of Trubisky and how good he's looked early on, Lynch is not doing a good job for the winless Niners. The next trade I'm going to talk about is Calvin Benjamin to Buffalo for a third and seventh round picks. And I really like this trade for both teams. First, Buffalo, who hired Sean McDermott as the head coach. He was Carolina's former defensive coordinator. And Brandon Beane was actually the Panthers' assistant general manager before he took over after the draft to be Buffalo's general manager. So basically, if these two guys, Buffalo knows more about this kid than any other team in the draft, except obviously, except for Carolina, team he plays for. But both these guys are on the Panthers 2014 staff, so they know this kid. Another thing I really love what Buffalo did is they were stockpiling picks. They have 2 picks in the first round, 2 picks in the second round, 2 picks in the third round before this trade. So they can throw away a third and a seventh round pick and not even care. And what they're getting is a potential number 1 receiver. Now, Buffalo's 5-2. They're playing fantastic football, and now they completely upgrade their offense with this pick. Now, I said I like to trade for both teams, but I like this trade for Carolina because this last draft they drafted McCaffrey and Curtis Samuel. Both these guys are running back receiver types that have the game-breaking ability to take a short pass, a screen pass, or a 5-yard pass and go the distance. And so far for this year, McCaffrey and Funchess both have more receptions than Calvin Benjamin. So Funchess stepping up this year. He's a third-round pick, so he's costing them a lot less than Calvin Benjamin. And taking Benjamin out of the equation doesn't really hurt the offense all that much. I mean, Benjamin is the third leading receiver as far as receptions go on this team, and this is without Greg Olsen, their number 1 receiver. So overall, I like to trade a little better for Buffalo, but Carolina gets a ton of salary cap space and some extra picks, which I like. So Buffalo instantly becomes better on offense, but Carolina's hoping Samuel can step up and Funchess continues to improve. So it's a good trade for both teams. Next is I'm going to talk about Jeremy Lane being traded to Houston for Dwayne Brown and a 2018 fifth-round pick and a 2019 second-round pick. The terms of this trade changed. Due to Lane failing a physical, he was injured in the game against Houston, ironically. But from what I've gathered, he may be able to play next week, or he should be able to play later this year. So it's not a situation where he's just going to sit out. Now, what you're seeing is what the Rams did this year. They went ahead and got their team MVP from Cincinnati, and that's Andrew Whitworth. And this is why you follow Andrews Football and AndrewsFootball.com, is because everybody will tell you about Goff or Gurley being team MVP. No, it's the left tackle. He comes in, instead of a poor offensive line that's garbage, they now have a good offensive line, and Goff's looking way more like the number one overall pick should look, and Gurley's looking completely different than he did last year. I know this because I have Gurley in both my fantasy leagues, and I'm kicking ass in both leagues. Seattle paid attention to what the Rams did this offseason, and they gave up quite a bit for the 12th year left tackle, and supposedly Russell Wilson freed up some cap space. And this is a big change from what Seattle was doing, because what Seattle was doing was putting young, inexperienced players and inexpensive players on that offensive line, and they were using Russell Wilson's mobility. see, with today's NFL and today's salary cap space, you can't have high paid players at every position. See, what Seattle tried doing was saving some money on their offensive line, but when they won a Super Bowl, it was because Russell Wilson was paid like a third round pick. Richard Sherman was a fifth round pick, and they're playing on those rookie contracts. But once those contracts expired and they paid those players salaries that they deserve, you lose a lot of depth and no more Super Bowl trophies. So if Brown plays immediately at a Pro Bowl level, this really helps Seattle's offense big time. But if he's not close to a Pro Bowl caliber starter, then this is a really bad trade. You're giving up a lot of draft capital plus a lot of money for a player who's only going to play a few years max. Now, the Texans, they get a corner who can help. After losing A.J. Bowie this last offseason to Jacksonville, the secondary's really regressed. Now Lane may not be a starter, and he may not be the long-term answer in helping with the loss to A.J. Bowie, or with Joseph, who's a 12-year vet and is probably coming up close to retirement sooner or later. But the Texans need some help on defense, and Lane helps them now. It's kind of funny because before the season started, I would have told you that the Texans had a top 5 defense, but they have questions on offense, so now they score 38 points in a game and lose. Now, you'll probably hear from other media sources, why are the Texans giving up your best offensive lineman? Well, after holding out this year, the Texans know he's not going to resign after the year's over. So in this trade, instead of losing another player like they did with A.J. Bowie, they go ahead and get a guy who helps their secondary now, plus they get 5th round pick this year, plus you get a 2nd round pick in 2019. You get 3 players for a guy who's going to be gone after the year is over. I'm the only person that's going to tell you this is a good move for Houston. Houston's 3-4, and the offense is, for a change, is not the problem. It's the defense. Plus, with the salary cap help that you're going to get, you can address your O-line during the offseason or the draft. And plus, a guy who doesn't want to be there, and he can't be a big positive in the locker room. So in summary, Seattle may be better now, only if Brown's a Pro Bowl caliber player, but I like Houston getting 3 players for a guy who's unhappy and leaving after the year is over. Now for the trade, I actually thought this was fake, but Jay Ajayi is going to Philly for a 4th round pick. Now the logic behind this actually starts with last year, where Miami brought in Arian Foster, and once they signed Arian Foster in the preseason, Jay Ajayi threw a temper tantrum, left the facility, and now Foster ended up getting hurt, or actually injured, not just hurt, and retired. And Jay Ajayi looked like a top 5 NFL running back last year. But without the same kick in the ass, he hasn't really responded, and he doesn't look like the same player, and Miami's offense has really struggled. Now, it's not all Jay Ajayi's fault, but he doesn't look the same. Now, if you've been following me on AndrewsFootball.com, I've been saying for the last couple of weeks, I think Philadelphia is the best team in the NFC. And I really like this move because you're not really risking a lot in the fourth round pick to improve your team this year. Now, I think for Miami, I think Miami should have done this during the offseason. But they went ahead and did this now. And I think this was in the aftermath of losing 0-40 in Baltimore. I think that they needed to shake things up. So getting rid of a player, I think, sends a message. But Philly wins this trade easily. Miami, on the other hand, they get a pick and they need to fill up multiple positions. So this will help during the offseason. But for right now, Philly really helps himself out with this trade. Now, I'm going to make another video later on in the week, and I'm going to talk about more of the games. And I've been red hot on Thursday, so I know you're really excited to get my take on this game. But I haven't had a chance to watch the Jets game yet. I did watch Buffalo and the Raiders, and I think the 3.5 point spread is perfect. But due to the Bills getting Benjamin, I expect this to jump up to 4. I probably like Buffalo to cover 4, but let me watch the game first. The one game I want to point out real fast is I like 13 points from Indianapolis. Indianapolis travels to Houston. They're a 13-point dog. Houston's just not a good enough team to cover this many points right now. But the game I love, the game I would put action on, is Kansas City going to Dallas. Kansas City's actually a 1-point favorite right now, and this is without Ezekiel Elliott playing. Now, if he plays, Dallas will be favored by anywhere between 1 to 1.5 points. The line opened up as Dallas was a 1.5 point favorite. Now they're a 1-point dog. But this was before the suspension. So I recommend waiting until tomorrow night to see if the suspension is upheld. Because if the suspension is upheld, the line's going to stay. Kansas City may jump up to 1.5. But if it doesn't, then you're going to go ahead and get Kansas City as a road dog. See, Kansas City is easily the better team, and that's with Elliott or without Elliott. Kansas City's offense matches up great against Dallas, but unfortunately Kansas City's really struggled against the run. And that's been a really Achilles heel of the Kansas City Chiefs, is that they struggle against the run. That said, with or without Elliott, Kansas City's going to win this game. So wait till suspension's held up. Then go ahead and put action on the Chiefs. Now, if you have not already subscribed, hit that subscription button. It's the red button on the lower right corner of the screen if you have not done so already. Now, if you are a subscriber, you're one of the greatest people on earth. But don't be afraid to share this important information with everyone and anyone who is a football fan or just a fan of extremely sexy people talking about football. If you have any suggestions or comments, go ahead and let me know what you think of my latest video. And until next time.